Hello, true crimeers. This is another true crime in a short amount of time. And we're doing another cold case in Canada. This is the case of Ursula Schulze. Viewer discretion is advised. This case takes place in Brossard in Quebec, Canada. Unfortunately, I don't really know much about 19-year-old Ursula Schulze. There's not a whole lot of background on her, and there's not much information in general on this case. Her parents described her as an incredibly shy young girl, and they had recently, they didn't make her, but encouraged her to get a job because shortly before this case takes place, and the main reason why they were encouraging it is so that she could interact with more people and maybe open up a little bit more and kind of maybe move away from her shyness a little bit. It was July 13th, 1972, and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. That day, Ursula had plans to go to work, and then she was going to pick up a gift for her mom later that day because it was her mom's birthday. Unfortunately, she never got to do that. She was near a bus stop at about 8 o'clock that morning, really close to her house, when in just complete broad daylight, this is not something that happens too often, and in front of people, witnesses would describe that there was a vehicle that pulled up next to the bus stop and kind of stopped sort of in the middle of the road. The driver got out of the car and walked behind his vehicle and then towards the bus stop. Out of nowhere, this man with his right hand grabs Ursula, this 19-year-old girl, and yanks her towards his car. She really didn't even see him. She had no time to even process that he was there. The witnesses said, because I guess the witnesses were far back, I'm assuming, because it doesn't sound like anyone tried to stop this. So I'm just assuming that no one was close enough and it all happened very fast. But the witnesses said that then the man threw Ursula into his vehicle, and for like a couple of seconds he was like his backside was out of the car while he was apparently fighting with her in the car. Then he closes the door, he runs back to the driver's seat, gets in, and speeds away in his car. The witnesses said, as far as they could tell, he continued taking, I guess, the service road and did not approach the highway. That same day, her parents reported her missing later on that day. Her father went into the police station with one of Ursula's sisters. They gave police a few pictures of Ursula. It says, "Our daughter is missing, and we need your help." According to the father and her sister, the police seemed to be completely not interested whatsoever. They apparently were more concerned about a theft or breaking and entering that had gone on around the same time, and they said that that was more important than this missing girl, because they said she's 19 years old, she's an adult, she probably just went off on her own. Even though her sister was like, I know my sister, she didn't do that, she was taken. And it wouldn't be until later on when witnesses would recount what happened to her when police were like, oh, maybe we should take this seriously then. Okay. But even still, they didn't really go gung-ho with this. They didn't, bother doing any kind of investigation from what it sounds like. Unfortunately, they wouldn't have to wait long to find her. Ursula was discovered at 4 p.m. the next day, July 14th. A truck driver noticed a young woman propped up against a wall or by some bushes behind an abandoned soap factory. This was 15 miles away from where she was actually taken. Some people said that she was strangled, but that was not her actual cause of death. She was actually shot twice in the back of the head, and they apparently could not determine whether or not she was sexually assaulted. So they don't know if this was a sexually motivated crime or what the motivation behind this was. More than likely sexual, but they allege there's no proof that she was assaulted. The Quebec police would host basically a town hall meeting that anyone can come forward who may be witnesses and provide any kind of information. And apparently this didn't really yield anything at all. The police tried to say that we weren't even told about the girl missing for 19 hours after it happened. But that was a bold-faced lie, not even remotely accurate. And there were witnesses to back up the fact that they were lying about that. Her father and her sister would reiterate that the police told them, quote, "We'll take care of it later." This is when she was still considered missing. As a matter of fact, they reported her missing kind of, earlier that day, and then the police never even got to the family's house until close to midnight that night. They waited several hours before they even went to the family to ask them questions or anything. That being said, there's no real description of the car. There's no real description of the man who took her. There's no real evidence. There was no sign of a struggle at the crime scene, meaning she was probably killed somewhere else and then just dumped there. They've never found the actual crime scene where she was murdered. This is the 70s. There was no DNA knowledge at that time. There apparently was no fingerprints. There apparently was nothing. This case went cold, and it has stayed cold ever since. Ursula's mom and dad would end up suing the Brossard Police Department for several $100,000 from what it looks like. But apparently at some point, according to one of Ursula's brothers, the settlement was just dropped, but I don't know in what regard. The brother also said that it sounds like their dad may have known who killed Ursula, but that person may have been someone either maybe in the police force itself or an influential person in the community. Someone maybe in the political world, possibly. And maybe that's why police weren't taking it seriously. But we're nearly 52 years from when this happened. There are no leads, there are no suspects, there is no evidence, there is nothing. Ursula Schulze was brutally kidnapped and murdered, and then just dumped next to a building like she was garbage. And the person who did it to her, I mean, let's be real, 51 years later, probably got away with it. That doesn't mean there isn't information out there that can be discovered. The police force is significantly different now. There is a possibility that even if maybe the perpetrator is no longer alive, there's also a good chance they still are alive. It's not that far away, but someone may know who did this. Usually these people talk. If you are someone who knows what happened to Ursula Schulze, if you know who did this to her, if you have any information at all, just please contact the police department there in Brossard and let them know the information you have. You can always report this information anonymously. You don't have to tell them who you are. These days, you can even email them. The surviving family members just want to know what happened to her. They want to know if anyone can be punished for this. That's the least that we can do for them. So please, if you know anything, please contact the authorities. But unfortunately, that is all I have for this video. I know it's not much information. I wish it was more. As usual, if you have tripped, fallen, and stumbled your way into this video, hello, I'm Mike. I tell 4 true crime stories a week here on YouTube. I tell 1 on Instagram and 1 on Facebook, and then a few throughout the week over on TikTok. Please subscribe to me here, give this video a like so more people can see it, and follow me on my other socials, which is in the link tree below in the description if you so choose. If you have a case you want me to cover, please email me at makingatruecrimerer.com. That information is also below. If you'd like to support me in any way, we do sell merch, t-shirts, hoodies, that kind of thing. We do ship internationally, and that is also in the link tree below. And lastly, if you have a Discord account and you want to join my Discord server, it's also below. Please be over the age of 18, or else you'll be kicked out of there. But that is it for this video, True Crime Maroony Doony Ding Dong. So I will see you for the next video. Tobble, tobble, topples, tobble, tobble to topple. Now, forever. What? I never know how to say goodbye. That's not it.